Good morning and welcome to the 445 Productive Through Joy show with your host and your boy, Dr. Michael Datcher. The show airs each weekday morning, hella early AF at 4:45 a.m. You're on YouTube's Michael Datcher channel and at 4:45 p.m. on Facebook Livecast today. We're talking about the truth will set you free. About the truth and how powerful this concept is, and really kind of thinking about what we think about this ideal of truth telling and how it manifests for us. Okay, so let's dive in. You can go to productivethroughjoy.com and see about us. We speak to groups, schools, and organizations about being productive through joy. Let's dive in. So guys, we're talking about the truth, which is a very controversial topic because the truth is subjective generally. So we're talking about the lowercase truth, meaning like what is your own personal truth? Like what's for you, true for you. But I will also argue and submit to you today that there is, although largely truth is subjective, but I am arguing today, as along with that really, really important subjective truth, that there is a truth about all of us, just based upon kind of the metaphysical science and just also the physical sciences that we know, is that literally all of us, all beings, all things on the planet come from the initial primordial energy that was here in the beginning. Because we know that energy, just through science, modern science, cannot be created or destroyed. It just changes forms. That means that all that was here in the beginning is still here in some form. It's changed forms. It's subdivided, as the Egyptians thought, who called their land Kemet, and called themselves Kamal, the black people, Kemet, the land of the blacks. They thought that, they imagined that the original energy subdivided itself and became all that is here today. And they knew even then somehow, it's people, man, the brilliance of the black people, it's extraordinary, knew that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It's always been here. I'm not sure how that happens, but I'm just giving you the story. I don't know all the details of how that story came to be in terms of matter and primordial energy. It's really extraordinary if you think about it. So I'll submit to you that that original thing is everywhere and including everything, including all people, including you, including me. So with that as a base point, it then seems to suggest that a part of our goal is to figure out, like, how do we get that in touch with that original thing? And that's pretty powerful. If the energy, call it God or spirit, if that thing is everywhere and everywhere has to include me, whoa, I've got some cool stuff inside me. How do I access that? How do I get a hold of that? How do I use it? How do I commune with that? How do I deal with that? So if you know this show, we talk a lot about meditation and other types of spiritual modalities, really important ways to access the inner spirit. And the Egyptians, the folks from Kemet, had a belief that to know thyself, although literally in the Roman understanding and in the Roman / Greek understanding, it is taught in the West that is a European beliefs idea, which is a complete fly. If you know your history at all, you know that the idea of knowing thyself is actually physically written on various structures, ancient structures, which of course predate the development of the Greek-Roman culture by just about 5,000 years, but another story there. But so know thyself is one of the foundational ideas of the so-called Egyptian mystery system. And so you want to know thyself, is do the work of knowing that energy, that God inside yourself. Why is that important? Well, this goes back to living our lowercase, well, that's what I would call like the uppercase truth. Our lowercase truth is living the truth that you know to be true about yourself, right? If you are a person who believes in the power of telling the truth, right? Doing that even when it's difficult should be what you're about. If you're a person who believes in sharing, even when that's difficult, be about that particular thing. And it is the living of that truth, that aligning with the spirit, because we know when we violate our principles, you feel that feeling inside, In the Egyptian context, they imagined this process of, I'll give you the short version. So they would imagine a scale, and on one scale was the human heart, a picture of it, a kind of an iconic picture of it as an icon. And the other side of the scale was a feather, and it was a balancing scale. And they imagined if your heart felt heavier than a feather, you couldn't access basically the afterlife or heaven, right? It wasn't called heaven for them. It was like the afterlife, and live eternally. And so we know that feeling when we've done something. I know I felt it many times when I violated my own principles. I was like, oh, it just feels bad, you know? And that feeling inside was represented pictorially by a scale with a feather on one scale and a heart on the other scale. And so we want to keep that scale balanced. We want to keep our heart light, you know, you keep your heart light by doing what you know is right. You know, I think about this at times because, you know, people in my life, unfortunately for me, have some people close to me have just like really done me wrong, basically. I mean, that's probably true for most people, you know. But, you know, I'm pretty prepared to deal with people who are not in my inner circle because, you know, listen, as a black person in America, you have to like, deal with people, deal with racism, and deal with just the crazies out here, you know, it's extraordinary. But when people in your inner circle stab you in the back or do you wrong, I'm always so unprepared for it. And people say, and there's one way of living, people say, you know, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I just don't believe in that philosophy. I get the rationale behind it, but that's like a terrible way to live when you keep enemies around you, when you have to like, you can really relax around people. You have to always have your guard up. I don't believe that's a good way to live. They may keep you protected, but at what expense, right? So with people in my life, what I've done is been really, I call it radical vulnerability. I've been very open and sharing and just beautiful, basically, to people. And, you know, being of service, you know, if you're my friend, you know you're my friend because I'm for you, right? And so, but when you're that way, at times people look at that as like weakness, although that takes extraordinary work and labor. And so, anyway, so I've been, in the last few years, really double-crossed, triple-crossed by some people in a way that has had extraordinary, for me, consequences in my life. I mean, devastating consequences. It's been a very challenging time. And so when you have those experiences, of course, you want to lash back out and do all this stuff because now you have real enemies who used to be your friends or people in your life. And that's when you really deal with yourself, which goes to point two. This process of living truth is a lifestyle, and it requires having to deal with individuals and make decisions that oftentimes are uncomfortable, that you don't want to do, taking actions that you don't want to do, but you know it's the right thing, right? And that's how we begin to live the truth. Where living truth is actually not a one-time thing; it's an actual lifestyle, which goes into point three. As you live your truth, both knowing that you are the capital T, and over a period of years trying to align your will, what you want to do, what you perceive that original, I call it one love, what one love would have you do. And at times that one love energy is way better than me. Let me tell you, I don't want to be acting like one love when fools do you wrong. You know, you want to be like, you know. But when you believe in one love, you have to deal with it. And certainly I've dealt with this imperfectly over the years, and it's been a challenge for me, no doubt. But for all of us, the struggle, the challenge, the effort to align your belief system with your actions is fundamental. And what that does, it keeps that scale with that heart and that feather balanced. When you have that, we call that peace. And we call that peace. I've had unpeace. I know what it's like to not be peaceful inside. It's not a good feeling. So I work at that to keep that balance, scale balance. I know that many people, just because of the jobs I've had and my life I've lived, I know that probably the majority of people don't live in peace. You know, so that's probably a lot of us watching the show today, you know. It doesn't have to be that way. Holla. All right, guys, I'll see you this afternoon at 4:45 p.m. Until then, let's talk about it and be about it. Deuces.